Hey, Guns and Games here. Long time no see. It's been quite a while, hasn't it? I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate kind of getting back into the swing of things with videos than doing a updated gun collection video. Well, it's been about 21 months since I did my first gun collection video back, I believe in April of 19. And I've collected, let's just say, a lot more firearms since then. So what way to get back into it? I will also, like last time, be starting off with the handguns, moving on to the rifles. I will also point out any new handguns that have been added to the collection since the previous video, in case you haven't watched the previous video. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we'll start off with a Soviet 1895 Nagant revolver. This is an Ashevsk 1927 model, 7 rounds of 7.62 by 38 millimeter rimmed Nagant. Then a Romanian TTC. This is a Romanian copy of the Soviet Tokarev. Basically identical except for the addition of the safety there. This is a 1953 model, or when it was made. Then we have a Zastava M57, which is again a Tokarev clone, but with an extra round of capacity. This is, I believe, a mid-60s production. We then have a Zastava M70A. This is essentially the exact same gun, but 9mm. This one, I believe, was made in 1994. We then have a Zastava M88A. Basically the same gun, but just scaled down. It's a little bit smaller. We're back down to 8 rounds instead of 9. And it's a little bit more modernized. This is a relatively newer one. Then we have the Zastava CZ M70, which is a even further scaled down Tokarev in 32 with 8 rounds. Not sure when this one was made exactly. Then we have a Russian IJ-70 Makarov. This is a slightly tweaked commercial Russian Makarov. This one, I believe, was made sometime in the 90s from Russia. Basically identical, but it features a adjustable rear sight. 8 rounds of Makarov, of course. Then we have the Hungarian FEG PA-63, which is essentially just a loose copy of the Walther PP and PPK, but it's in Makarov caliber. 7 rounds, I believe. And then we have a FEG Hungarian AP-63. Same gun, but just different caliber. This is 32, 7 rounds. Then we have a Polish P-64. This is same concept. It's a Polish Walther PP loose copy. A little bit different. A little bit smaller than these. 6 rounds of Makarov. This one, I believe, is a 1975 dated pistol. Moving on to some of the Czech guns, we have a CZ52. This is a big boy gun, chambered in Tokarev as well. Pretty cool gun. This is, I believe, a 1954 dated gun, 8 rounds of Tokarev. We then have a Czech VZ70. Nice little pistol. 9 rounds of 32 ACP. This is a 1981 dated pistol, I believe. We then have a CZ75. This is an Israeli police trade-in. Not quite sure when it was made, but it is a real deal Czech one. You've got, depending on which magazine you use, 16, 17 rounds of 9mm. Then we have a VZ82 Czech. Kind of like a Makarov, a little bit. Pretty interesting gun. 12 rounds of Makarov. This one was made in 1988. It's in really good shape. Nice gun. We then go back to Zastava. We actually have a Zastava M99, or just known as the CZ99. There's a couple different names. EZ99, 999. This one's a CZ99, which was the first model, I believe, made in sometime in the 90s. Pretty cool gun. Kind of a little bit more like a loose SIG copy, basically. Pretty cool. We then move on to some of the Spanish handguns. We have, of course, the Star Model 28 DA. Pretty interesting little gun. This would have been an 80s or 90s pistol. 15 rounds of 9mm. We have a Star Model BM, a sort of scaled down 1911 lookalike, but it's internally actually basically a high power, not a 1911. 8 rounds of 9mm. This one was made in 1976. We then have an Astra Model A80, another sort of SIG clone made by Spain, 9mm. Pretty cool little gun, not bad. And then lastly, we have an Astra Model A50. This is essentially another Walther PP clone, or sort of derivative. 32 ACP, 8 rounds, made by Spain. Really cool. We then have a West German Walther P1. This is a post-World War II Walther P38 with a couple of modernization features, different grips, different finish. We also have moved over to an aluminum frame instead of a steel one. This one was made, you can see right there, November of 79. 8 rounds of 9mm, just like the P38. We then have a Beretta 92S, really the first actual real mass-produced variant of the Beretta 92. This is an Italian police trade-in. Push-button magazine releases down here instead of up here. 15 rounds of 9mm. This one was made in 1981. We have a Gen 2 Glock 22 and 40 Smith & Wesson, 15 rounds. This is would have been a 1990s produced pistol, police trade-in. Then we move on to a French MAB Model D. This is a pre-World War II French police pistol. Pretty cool. It's a little 9mm or 9 rounds of 32 ACP. Neat little gun. Then we have our two little pockets. We have the Ermawerk EP25, which is just a little German pocket pistol. 7 rounds of 25 ACP. This one was made in 1968. And then we have an old one. This is a Mauser Model 1910, 9 rounds of 25 ACP. One was made early 20s, 1921, 1922, 1923, somewhere in there. Now we move on to all of the new handguns that I've collected in the last 21 months. We first have a Beretta Model 1951, sort of the precursor to the Beretta Model 92. It is in a lot of ways kind of just like a single stack Beretta 92, 8 rounds of 9mm. Not really sure when this one was made. And then we have the other Beretta. This is a Beretta Model 81 Cheetah. It is one of the Cheetah pistols. There's a handful of them. There's the 81, the 84, the 85. I think there's even an 87. The 81, like this one, is a 12-round 32 ACP. The other ones were in 380, the 84, and the 85. I think the 87 was in 22. Ooh, pretty neat. We then move on to this. This is a FEG. It goes by a couple different names. I think like the P9R, I think is the most common name. This is a Hungarian Browning high power copy. Pretty neat. Not too sure when it was made, but it's pretty cool. We then have a Smith & Wesson 5906. This is one of the many sort of double action hammer-fired, double action, single action hammer-fired handguns Smith & Wesson made all throughout the years in the 80s and the 90s and before. This one's pretty cool. It's a little 15-round 9mm, sort of stainless, left in the white. Neat little gun. This was a police trade-in as well. Pretty neat. Moving on to some revolvers, we have a Smith & Wesson Model 10-6. This was one from one of the big batch of, I believe these were from the New York State Police and whatnot, various New York police agencies. This is I believe, since it's a 10-6, it's late 60s, early 70s production. 38 special, of course. Then we have a Taurus Model 82. This is a Brazilian police trade-in. Very similar gun, 38 special as well. Actually, this one's this is actually, I think, a lot nicer. Really sweet little gun. Then we have a Webley number 4, or Webley Mark 4, whatever you want to call it. This is the one Webley that was not in 455 Webley. This was the Webley that was in 38 Smith & Wesson, or as the British called it, 38- or /200. This is a 1941 dated handgun, but it has definitely seen a post-war refurbishment at some point, probably in the 50s or 60s or something. So there's that. We then have a Astra Model 400. Pretty cool little gun. This is the precursor to the probably more well-known Astra Model 600-43 that the Nazi Germans used in World War II in 9mm. This one is in the Spanish 9mm Largo caliber instead. We also have a nice little Astra crest on the barrel. Really cool gun. Then we have this, a real jewel. This is, of course, a Japanese Type 14 Nambu. Ooh. Not a super late war one, but not a really early one. It's dated, I believe, September of 43. So it's not quite a last-ditch one yet, but it's definitely a little bit more cruder than some of the earlier ones. 8 rounds of, I believe it's 8x22 Nambu. Very cool pistol. And then lastly, we have a FN 1910/22. Not one of the more collectible German production ones during World War II, sadly. This is, I believe, a just after the war one. I believe it was dated. It's hard to find a date on this, but this one's probably late 1940s, maybe early 1950s. It is just a bigger version of the 1910 Browning, longer barrel, longer grip. 9 rounds of 32 ACP. Pretty cool gun. So those are all the new ones I've collected in the last 21 months. Not that many, I will admit. I have collected a lot more rifles, let's just say. We'll start off with my favorite platform, the Mausers, and we'll get into all of them. Starting off with the new one. We have a 1891 Argentine Mauser at the top here. Very nice. It is all numbers matching and in very nice shape. Chambered in that good old 7.65 by 53 Argentine. Then we have my 1895 Chilean from the last video. Looks a little bit different. I actually did strip some of the stock finish off. I had this really weird glossy coating applied to it, and I got rid of that. Looks a lot better now. We then have a Swedish M96. Another new one to the collection. Beautiful. All numbers matching as well, with the stock disc and little range chart on it too. Original sling. Amazing. Below that we have another one. We have the Swedish M38. This one's actually not an M38. It's a 96/38. It was originally a M96 that was then converted into an M38. This one is a 1904 dated gun. And my 96 is a 1923 dated one. They're both all numbers matching. They both have original slings. This one has the stock disc but does not have the range chart, but it did have it at one point. If I can get down to it, you can see the pinholes where it once was. So that's interesting. Next up is another new one. This is a M43 Spanish Mauser, made by La Corona. It's a 1948 dated rifle, all numbers matching, 8mm Mauser. Pretty sweet. We then have two ones that I've already shown in the last video. We have the Yugo M48, 8mm Mauser, all numbers matching, and my Colombian Model 1950 in 30-06, all numbers matching. Moving on to a couple of new ones, we have an original 1891 Carcana, full-length configuration. It is a tourney made in 1917. in excellent condition. It isn't matching. The stock is not matching to the bolt, the receiver, but in immaculate condition. Don't see too many of these around anymore. Then we have my 1891 Cavalry carbine. This is not new, of course, in the last video. All numbers matching. Made in Turney, 1936. We then have a M91/28 Troop Special Carcana. Oh, this is a Turney 1929. Pretty cool. It is not numbers matching. It actually has a mismatched barrel band, which it's the only one of my 4 Carcanos that has a serial numbered barrel band, which is a little bit odd. I guess that's just how the troop specials are. I'm not really sure, but interesting nonetheless. We then have another little bit of a rare bird. This is an M41 Carcano, the very last variant for World War II. It is a fat Arsenal, dated 1941, first year of production. All numbers matching. Stock does match to the receiver. Pretty nice shape. Moving on, we have my M95 Mannlicher still. The little Stutzen carbine, an 8x56mm rimmed. The updated caliber in the 30s. All numbers matching. Haven't added any more Mannlichers to the collection, sadly. Haven't gotten around to it. I've had some opportunities, but just didn't manage to capitalize. Another new one here. Yeah, this is a special one. This is a Longley Enfield, specifically a CLLE Mark I Star. The actual, basically the very last variant of the Longleys. The Charger Loading Lee Enfield Mark I Star. It was originally an MLE, a magazine loading Lee Enfield, or magazine Lee Enfield, I'm sorry, made in 1896, updated to the Charger loading Lee Enfield in 1909. It was made at BSA, Birmingham Small Arms, all numbers matching. Bore's a little bit shot out, not in the best of condition. Also don't know if the sling is original, but hey, really cool. Very rare, pretty expensive, got it for a hell of a price. Don't see too many of those. Then we have my Australian SMLE, number 1 Mark III, made in 1916 at Lithgow. This one was in the last video, all numbers matching. My very first milsurp ever, my Ishevsk X-Dragoon 9130, made in 1927, all numbers matching. Of course, we do have another one here. This is a new one. This is my Tula round receiver 9130, made in 1939. It's a pre-war one, which was why I was so keen on buying it. It's a 9130 that was actually made before the war, so it's actually in like really nice condition and has really good machining quality, unlike some of the later ones that were made during the war. Another new one, we have a M44. I don't have my Chinese Type 53 anymore. I got rid of it and replaced it with this. It's all numbers matching. That one's all numbers matching too. And it is a first year of production, 1943. Yes, they actually did make some M44s in 1943. And this is one of them. Really cool. Then we have my good old M9159, 1945 dated Tula. Just a 9130 that was chopped down and converted basically into an M38. All numbers matching. Moving on to my Swiss rifles, we have the good old K11. All numbers matching. It was in the last video, of course. Then we have my K11 carbine, 1920 dated K11 carbine, I believe. This is actually a 96/11, dated I think 1904. So there's that one, but then we have the new one. And this is my K31. Oh yeah. K31 finally got one of these into the collection. It's a 1937 dated, all numbers matching, in really, really nice shape. Moving on to some of the new additions, Japanese rifles. We have a Tokyo Arsenal Type 38 Arasaka with the original dust cover. Reproduction sling though. All numbers matching. Roughly based off the serial mid 19 teens, maybe around 1915. Late teens maybe. Pretty sweet. But even sweeter is this. This is a Japanese Type I, which, if you know what these are, it's basically an Italian-made Type 38 with a Carcano bolt. A small number of these. The number of them made varies depending on what you read, but it's basically just an Italian-made Type 38 with a Carcano bolt. Really cool. Then we have a Type 99. This one is a fairly early war example, more early war, Nagoya, all numbers matching. Has the airplane sights and the provision for the monopod. Pretty nice machining overall, nice stock, reproduction sling. Don't have a dust cover for it. Been trying to get one for it. Pretty nice. Then we have a pre-war Moss 36, French Moss 36. Yeah. This is a pre-war one, so it's got some really nice bluing and machining quality, and it does not have the front sight hood. The pre-war ones did not have them. It is all numbers matching. Very nice. Then we have a American Krag, the Krag Jorgensen. It's a all matching 1901 dated rifle in full length configuration. Don't see too many of these around anymore that haven't been sporterized or are the carbines. Then we have a Smith Corunna 1903 A3. It is I believe a September of 43 dated rifle with the original barrel still. And an October of 43 dated barrel. Really cool. And then lastly, we have a Remington Model 81 Woodmaster in 35 Remington, made in 1946, just after World War II. Really slick. Pretty cool. Moving on, we'll move on to my Hakim. Of course, the Egyptian Hakim, a sort of upscaled Swedish AG-42B Jungmann, an 8mm Mauser. Late 50s, early 60s. All numbers matching. Of course, we have my PTR still. With the upgraded furniture that I put on it. Moving on, we have my SKSs, of course, still. My Yugoslavian M59/66. All numbers matching. And my Chinese M21. All numbers matching. Very nice. And then we have the AKs with a couple of new additions. We have my MD63, 1979 dated kit. All numbers matching. My MD65 underfolder, all matching kit, 1969 dated. The MD64 RPK, not matching, dust cover is mismatched, 1977 dated kit. My MD86 545, these are all Romanian, of course. 1990 dated kit, all matching. The two new ones, we have an MD90 all matching kit. It's a 1991 dated 7.62. And then my PSL. It's a 1979 dated PSL. It is all matching. It actually does not have a matching magazine though, sadly. But original scope, original sling. Very nice. And that's actually it, folks. A lot of new additions, as you can see. Unlike last time, I was not able to fit all of them in the study like my last time I did this. I had just enough room to get the handguns on the table. I will struggle to actually probably fit any more on there. So next time I do this in a couple of years, I'm going to have to do something else with that. And running out of room here too. So a lot of new additions, really happy. Sold a couple of rifles. I mentioned the Chinese Type 53. I did sell my Turkish and my Czech Mauser as well. Got rid of those. Got rid of those because they were just Frankensteins. None of the serials on any of those matched at all. And I just traded, got rid of them and traded up to some other new guns, like the M44. I traded the Czech Mauser for the Type 99, actually. And I did a partial trade in some cash with the Turkish Mauser for the Mus 36, actually. So improved the collection, I think, and replaced them with other Mausers anyway. So I think that's really it. I think those are the only ones I got rid of. So didn't get rid of any of my handguns. So hung on to all of them. Got rid of just a handful of rifles, but added a whole lot more to the collection. So that's going to about do it. I want to thank you guys for watching. I am sort of back. I'm going to try and be back and hopefully make some videos finally and maybe not disappear off the face of the earth for over a year. So thank you guys for watching, and I will hopefully see you more often and regularly in the future. Thanks for watching, guys.